Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. We hope you enjoyed the technical difficulties because Joey's mic always mutes late and he just keeps yelling into everything. You're still on mute, Joey, because you're so delayed.
My bad. I didn't know you could even hear me.
We're already off to an absolutely wonderful start. I am Ron Luce. I am joined by what makes up the other 80%. See, Joey still has tech issues on it. We are just off to a literally incredible start.
Hey guys, I can fix this. Ready?
Oh my god! Oh my god! We'll bring. Joey is all over the place. Joey's catching up. I'm Ron Luce. He's Juice. He's Nick. He's Joey. Anytime Joey's on the microphone with Juice, it's just I feel like you two just bond together to create chaos from the jump.
She still can't hear him.
We still can't hear him. He'll be back in a minute at some point, folks. Just bear with us here. But gentlemen, we're here talking about 2023, which just is honestly, this moment epitomizes 2023 for the Cubs team, for us as a Cubs on Tap crew. This literally sums it up all into just one thing here. I'm gonna put Joey in the waiting room until his mic is working because I don't know what happened. But gentlemen, how are you guys doing as we wait for our fourth comrade here to come back?
How does one even talk about what's going? Anytime Joey is on any show on the On Tap Sports Network, it's like, you know, the like that is Joey to a T. Anytime he's on the mic, it is like a 3-ring circuit. What's he doing?
How do you even do the show after that?
I think we just have Joey on mute in the corner, just laughing the whole
time. Well, it says I cannot unmute our guest because he chose to mute himself.
He chose to mute himself.
He chose to mute himself.
Oh my God!
Oh, he's there!
Can you hear me now?
Dude,
there he is.
All right, you know how it's so delayed to the point where everything goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. My music keeps going and going and going. And now I wish I actually had that tune that Juice was talking about. Tearing was down. Oh God, again!
Joey is so.
Am I gone again?
Joey, you are so delayed.
Wait,
that,
hold on.
Oh,
It's a party. How do I do this?
I don't know how you do this.
Fucking crack them the old school way.
We're already off the rails. We need to reel this thing back in really quick.
All right.
We are here.
We can't have Jeremiah coughing up blood. That's all I'm going to say.
Jeremiah.
Oh my gosh. This is all over the place. He also says all the Joey slanders warranted. So that's the start. This is the start of how we wrap up the 2023 season. But gentlemen, that's exactly what we are here to do tonight. Unfortunately, Tyler was not able to join us for this one. We were that close to having the full crew like we wanted to, but he has provided his answers to a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight. We will read them accordingly. So that's why if you look in the description for the episode and it says he's here in spirit, that's why he's here in spirit. Gentlemen, on all seriousness, how are you guys doing today? How are you feeling now that the Cubs on Tap season is coming to an end and we're looking toward the wintertime?
Proud. I'm proud of the work we did this year. It's not easy to cover all these games. It's not quick. I mean, there's times where we get on the mic and we're doing this for 40 minutes and then there's another hour of planning and there's a lot that goes into it. Just as somebody who's been on the mic with you, Ron, for 5 years now and the 5th season, this is, in my opinion, the best group we've had and the best year we've had, probably ever. Just a lot of laughs, a lot of fun banter back and forth, a lot of going to games. I think like the coolest part is none of us knew who each other were 5 years ago. And now, like, we look forward to CubCon and games that, Tyler comes up from, Tennessee and grabs game. And it's just awesome to, like, hit the games with you guys and have, like, true friends on the mic. I think that's testament. And that's why I think our shows are so funny. That's why I think that, like, our stuff's so great. And I think we're only getting better, to be honest. I'm just so proud of us. The Cubs, it's fun either way. Bad season, good season, whatever. We don't control that. We just control on the type of work we put out. We put a damn good product out, I think.
Well said. Well said. Nick, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I agree with Juice 100%. It's been, this is my first year back from starting probably 5 years ago. Yeah. So it's been awesome. I've had a lot of great times, great talking baseball with all you guys. And like you said, the Cubs, win or lose, it's been fun. It's been a crazy ass season for sure. Mentally, it's been tough to get on the mic sometimes after some heartbreaking losses, especially towards the end. But it's been a fun season overall, man.
Heck yeah. Joey?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot more to add to that because I'm afraid I'm going to get booted out if I do start talking too much. So I'll just say it was great, and yeah, we had a lot of laughter on this mic and these mics. I only have one mic here. I'm sorry. I'll keep it together. In the bleachers, man, like we had such a great time. Like that first, just kicking it off, right? Like kicking it off at CubsCon. We talked about it. We had a long episode after that. Just all the memories that we made there and then the people that we met and just like how we were up and just having these wild conversations up until I don't even know what time we ended up going to bed. Probably way earlier than I thought it was. But yeah, and then just the games themselves and how much work we have put into this. I feel like it's a grind. It's totally, you guys have been doing it for such a long time here between you, Ron, and Juice. Like you guys have been doing these post-game reviews and recaps for a long time, so you already know what the grind is like. But like for me, as being like the first full year, I think doing this, and like obviously we have a nice rotation of 5 people now that we can, punch back and forth, and like not everybody has to do it every day, but there's never a dull moment, and there was never a time where it's like I don't want to do this show. Like there was never ever any of that. It was always I wanted to do the show. Can I do the show? And so like that, it just made it so much easier, man. Of course, having a good team to watch all season made it that much more fun. But yeah, I'm only looking forward to next year though. That's why next to my name it says on to the next, because like to me, I want to go through this show with you guys and talk about all the good and the bad things and the moments from this year. But there's just so much more to look forward to, and I think we felt that going into this past season. But there's a lot to look forward to, and I look forward to more memories that we can build. And who knows, maybe more wild shit. Who knows what we're gonna get into? So
I'm sure the ride is going to take us on quite the adventure. Gentlemen, I'm going to save a little bit more of my thoughts for a little bit later in the show, but I am in agreement with all of you guys. Again, I'll sum it up quickly for now. 2023, what a ride it has been for this Cubs season. Gentlemen, let's get into it. Here, this is the time, this is the moment. I want to give each of you guys the microphone. The soliloquy of what was the season in your eyes for 2023. Juice, I'll give you the floor first, buddy. Lay it out.
It's every baseball season's a roller coaster. There's a lot of ups and downs. Some more ups than downs for the good ones. But this one, I think, truly mirrors that roller coaster, right? That we always talk about. They were really fun right out the gate, almost like that build up to the big drop, right? And that's what it was. And then it fell for most of May, and it leveled, and it stayed in a very, iffy spot. I mean, we really didn't know. It was teetering. We really didn't know which way this was going to go. And then it started to build back up. They started to play a little better baseball, and this team advocated to stay together, and they proved themselves over the course of 3 straight months of just great ball. And then September, the wheels fell off and everything came back into, the docking bay, and we all got off the ride, and it was still fun though. I mean, I think if you're talking about this season in regards to if it was a success, the players are going to tell you no. The fans would probably tell you no. But if you look at it with the glasses of where they've been for the last year and a half, this was so damn successful. And it just shows that being a fan of this team, it's a great time to be that. And there's a lot of good things going, and there's a lot of financial, flexibility in this payroll. And there's a lot of great players, and there's a lot of players that fans can enjoy rooting for. I think that's another thing that we don't talk about often on this show, that generally guys like Nico Horner and Ian Happ and Dansby Swanson and Seiya Suzuki and Cody Bellinger and Yan Gomes and Justin Steele, and you can go on and on and on. They're good guys. I mean, how many guys within this locker room can you legitimately look at and go, man, I don't like that guy, even as a person? I don't think there's any, if at all. And that showed over this season because they really built a bond, and that's what bond kept them together when they truly needed each other. And yeah, they missed the playoffs, and that sucks. But we learned a lot about the Central this year too. We learned that the Pirates are still a work in progress, and things aren't going to go as easily for them as we thought. The Reds faltered and have young players and are going to falter at times too. And the Brewers are in the playoffs, but then again, they're getting waxed in that first round by the D-backs. So, and the Cardinal way is over. It really is. It's a changing of the guard. And that team is not what they used to be. And I don't think they will be in the future. And if you're a Cub fan and you're looking at this division, the continuity and the leadership of Ross and the young players that they have in the queue ready to go, and the flexibility of the payroll, you got to feel like this division can be yours for the taking for a good amount of time in the next couple of years.
Yeah, well put, and agreed with that. Guys, I'm going to read Tyler's really quick, just because I think it has some good talking points and what there is for the season. But he says this team gives a lot of promise for 2024. Even though they weren't predicted to do much in the beginning of the year, they ended up obviously having what we think was a pretty successful season, as Juice noted. He says they answered a lot of questions of what they have, what they need, establishing a young closer like Adbert Alzolay, Justin Steele sticking his flag in the hill as this team's ace. He also notes Javier Assad and his Swiss Army knife role, Belly rebounding, Nico and Dansby performing like we expected them to, Seiya finally showing what he is when he's fully healthy and looked like he took a bit of that second-year leap. But he goes on to say that this team, they made things happen with a lot of misfit guys in the bullpen. And, Christopher Morel continued to do things. Jan Gomes being an unsung hero. It really did feel like every player, and maybe this year more than others because this was a winning season and they were in it at the end. But it really did feel like, I think, of what Tyler's trying to get to here, that each player had their own storyline over the course of the season. Like it really didn't feel like there was one guy on the team where you were like, that was at least a major contributor that you were like, what the hell did this guy do all year? Everybody had their own story that you could put kind of a magnifying lens over and follow the whole way and find interest in it. He continued to add on about guys like Tyone and Wesneski and Smiley struggling and what that impact here was for the team. He says, but at the end of the day, obviously they ran out of gas. PCA, some of these young guys we learned aren't quite ready, and that's okay. But again, at the end of the day, as Tyler kind of goes on to say, it really feels like they created themselves an identity. We now know what the Cubs are. We know who's here and truly established themselves as a part of the core. And as a result, now they know what they need to do moving forward. And it was a success in that sense of they learned a lot about over the course of the season. Juice, you get more graham crackers?
That seemed like a graham crackers type of slide right there, I think.
Your roll, we could hear your roll, Juice. So I was curious if you're rolling to get more graham crackers or not. But
damn it, I thought I muted the mic. No, I just opened it.
You're all right.
No, I just turned the fan on in here.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That's fair. But gentlemen, those were Tyler's thoughts. With that in vain, Nick, your thoughts on 2023?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy journey. The whole season in totality was absolutely a wild ride. And I couldn't think of anything else but to say what a ride. And we both thought of the same thing because it really felt like it really did. And coming out, after all the talk we had in the off season, all the buildup, we were really excited to see they were doing really well out of the gate. Like you said, things didn't go so well. And it ended up to being a point where me and Juice were doing an episode where we thought this team was going to be possibly dismembered. And like you said, they played for staying together. And for me, that was probably the coolest thing of the year to see. You could see that they had a chemistry and a bond that you described that they in the locker room did not want to get rid of. And they knew that they could do something special. And they played to stay together. And they really had 3 months of really good ball. So in that sense, that was probably my favorite thing of the whole year. Saturday or Friday when we did the funeral episode and going into Saturday, I really thought this collapse was going to sour the whole season. And if you asked me Saturday or Friday too, I would have said, yeah, the whole season, it's got a bad feeling now because of this collapse. But now that the smoke settled a little bit and I've gotten a little bit calmer about things, it's really been a successful year. It's been a lot of growth, a lot of questions have been answered, as Tyler had said. So it's really felt like a success. Overall, did we get to where we wanted to? No. But like you said, a lot of great things came about. And I think the best thing of all was the chemistry and for having almost a core in front of you now that you can really, truly say is a core of a team that can go off and be very competitive for these next years. So I'm just excited. And if you're a Cubs fan, you should be excited too, because there's a lot of bright spots on the horizon. And I think that things are going to be a lot more smooth come next year. These up and downs are going to be smoothed out, and hopefully, it's an even better ride. So yeah, overall, it's been great.
Yeah. 2023 was quite the story. Joey, your thoughts on the 2023 season?
I agree with all of you guys. I mean, I think what Nick said, though, too, not just about being a ride, but, you really start to see this team. We all needed that time off, I think. Like from Sunday to now, at least I did. I needed that time to be like, okay, where do you really stand with this team? What were your real thoughts about the season? How did the season go? Because I think it was a little bit depressing there for that last week. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's only natural for that to hit you, right? As a Cubs fan, like you ride with this team so hard. If you're a don't matter if you've been a fan for a year, 2 years, if you've been a fan for your entire life, you want them to make the playoffs. There's nothing but playoff baseball. There's nothing. The wild card is such an entertaining time, right? I mean, right now, I know there's some blowout games that we're witnessing in certain aspects too. I think the Rangers did today. So there's some stuff like that happens, but playoff baseball, nothing to. I just wanted that so bad. So like that last week, it really did feel like we were doing a funeral episode. And that's what me and Nick were kind of rolling with on that last one that we did together. But do you guys remember way back in the season when I almost lost my mind when it was me, Juice, and Tyler on a show, and I almost lost my mind? It was probably the angriest episode of a blowout victory or a game where the Cubs put up like 500 runs in the game that you'll ever see. And I just look back on that game and I say, what the fuck were you like? I don't know if that was a turning point. Probably wasn't. But looking back on that, it's like, you really didn't have that much to get angry about because, as we've said all along, there wasn't a ton of expectations. I mean, we all made our preseason predictions and whatnot of what we thought record-wise they would be. But I think we were all just hopeful, right? They made the additions they made in the offseason, and we wanted to look at it as, okay, they've got upside players. They've got kind of a decent group that they could maybe put something together. They've got a pitching staff and good defense, and if everything works out the way it could work out, they're going to be really good, or at least above average. And that's kind of how it played out. But then you saw the defects of this team or the flaws. You started to see they didn't have the depth, bullpen wise. They had a lot of injuries for the early part of the season, the first half of the season, right? There was always one guy that was hurt. Mm-hmm. Always. There was one player, one key player that was hurt, whether it was Nico, whether it was Belly, whether it was Seiya, whether it was, the list goes on and on of which guy actually took time out of the lineup. So they fought through all that. And so I'm really proud of the team that I'm a fan of. Like I could sit here today, recap season show and say, I'm proud of the effort that this team, because they always fought. And that's kind of my theme of this season is entertaining. They were just entertaining. It didn't matter whether it was a 1-run loss that you got your heart crushed, which that happened a lot, especially that last month of the season, but extra innings losses, all that. We had to witness all that. And we shouldn't be happy about that. And I don't think anybody should feel okay with that and should look at that as like a bar of like, oh, well, entertaining is good enough. It's not good enough. But kind of to Juice's point earlier, look at where this team was just for the last 2 years, right? This team was not anywhere near this, but they've been slowly building the depth of the entire roster. And I'm not just talking about the major leagues, but the entire organization slowly built this thing up to kind of get to this competitive level. And that's why I'm so freaking excited about where the future lies with this team, because they can really make some huge impact moves this offseason to now put themselves in a position where they are not right there competing. They are right there to take over. So, yeah, entertaining, man, all season long. Couldn't ask for anything more, really. I'm really happy with this team. Could have asked for playoffs. I wanted playoffs, but love the effort from this team.
100%. And again, I think you guys have all nailed it on the head. And the way I look at this season, kind of in my brain, is right. Each of you guys kind of mentioned the play, and Juice brought up the theme of the roller coaster, and the entertainment theme and things like that. But maybe at least for me personally, this was the first season I think maybe ever. Because I think just watching that 2016 team as a fan, like you remember all the ups and downs, but they were so good. It was more ups than downs. This was the first season in my lifetime, following the team as closely as we do here at Cubs on Tap now, where it felt like your pulse, right? You watch a pulse is turned into an image at a hospital, and it's the up and the down and the inevitable flat, to the next up and down. And that kind of beautifully sums up what the season was. It was the ups of April. It was the decline of May. We all felt they were down and out. They managed to find level and get to themselves to that competitive, sequence again to at least be buyers at the deadline. They got really hot and continued that play through August and into September, where we were sitting here right after that Giants series saying, yes, this Chicago Cubs team has a chance to make noise this year, potentially in an NL playoff race. But then you felt the down again of the collapse at the end and the team running out of gas and just physically running out of steam because they had to play outer worldly for, a very intense short stretch of the season. But now that the season has come to an end and we feel like we've hit that rock bottom of the pulse again, it's come back and it's found level, right? Because now we are all looking to 2024. And this season felt like a perfect precursor to something that could be more exciting, that kind of begins that next successful chapter of Chicago Cubs baseball. And that's kind of where we're going now. We're all level set again. We're all level headed. We have expectations and ideas and things like that. But in the grand scheme of it, they say, right, that the pulse defines life in a beautiful way, because without the ups and the downs, it's not worth living. It kind of felt that way as a Cubs fan this year. I think it almost, for me personally, reignited my passion for the Cubs, because it felt like it got crushed a little bit after 2021 and 2022. We were still getting a sense of direction for this franchise. It really kind of sparked that Cubs life in me again. And again, I think it's the perfect epitome of what the season ultimately became. Gentlemen, we want to keep the show moving and get into some of the fun things. We have some set topics that we put out amongst ourselves in our chats today of, some of our favorite moments of the season, our least favorite moments of the season, players that we enjoyed watching the most, and so on and so forth, including some things that we're going to kind of end this show and spice things up to get you guys, the listeners, and probably ourselves excited for what's to come here in the wintertime. And I want to start with the favorite moment. And this one, I'm going to piggyback off of Tyler, because I think Tyler and I had the same one. So I'm going to just combine ours into one here. Our favorite moments have a 1 and 1A. Number one was CubsCon. That was a great way to start off the year. It really did kind of set the tempo. It really got us, I think, as a group ready. And Nick, even though we weren't able to bring you along, and we're hoping that changes next year, it felt like it really kind of set the morale and set our tone for the season and what it became. And Tyler now, notes it was the first time we all met Tyler in person. So it was it was really kind of that first time as a group that we started creating kind of the bond I think that we have here at Cubs on Tap. And I second that. He brings up that first night that we stayed up super late. Obviously the second night with the crazy Mancini signing in the middle of the bar, and Ron coming to the epiphany that I had to do the Mancini bet. Just all the crazy memories of what CubsCon weekend was. And then he follows that up with also opening day, closing weekend. And kind of this little tradition that we've established at Cubs on Tap of all of us trying to get together for opening day and staying in the city and making it a Cubs weekend. Cause it's always like the weather's been shit the last 2 years, but like none of us give a rat's ass. We're all bundled up. We're ready to go. People are taking selfies with Joey's debit card. Like it's become a tradition that has a beautiful sense of comedy and humor to it. But it's something that I consistently look forward to for us as a Cubs on Tap group. So I echo Tyler, because that's exactly where my mind went with my favorite moment for the season. But one I quickly will add, and it relates to people, are the kind of the people we've added to our Cubs community along the way of 2023. And that was, the Bleacher Bums that we've become a lot closer with. My Tie Guy, Bleacher Jeff, Danny Rocket, Alyssa, Laura Wisdom, Rachel Wisniewski, everybody, right? Like literally everybody that we met and got to hang out with, and you put names to faces of people that you see kind of within the social media Cubs community that we got to add to us. And obviously doing more things with our friends over the Dingers podcast this year too, and incorporating, some of that crossover content at times with them. It really was a sense of a building year from like the Cubs on Tap community too, which I think was super cool. And that kind of relates to those that are joining us in the comments section that have listened along all season as well. So my favorite moment, Tyler's favorite moment, summed up into 1 point. Juice, going to give you the floor again to start. Your favorite moment of 2023.
Yeah, I think that CubsCon moment, standing outside in the heart of winter, having a cigar with you guys was hilarious to me. I mean, I love smoking cigars, but I don't think I've ever smoked a cigar when it was like -10 outside, and I'm having a beer and laughing, and and as everybody knows here at the Cubs on Tap crew, like I'm the elder statesman here, and I am the first one to go to bed. I'm the first one to dip out. Good luck getting me out. You guys had to pull my arm to get me to go out that one night when you guys sat there, and I'm damn happy I did, because it's sitting and having those moments where you get to talk about Cub baseball is therapeutic. It's relationship building. It's it's fun. It's the moment but standing outside and like having cigars with you guys, to me, was like, that was awesome. Like, not many moments in life where you don't want to leave a certain moment, but I had that moment there. That was fun, and two, like that whole night and whole weekend it was good to talk Cubs, and we did a lot of it. But I learned so much about all of you guys too, and we got a chance to, like you said, meet, the bleacher guys and hang out over there. But my favorite, in my one B or my B moment, when you guys interviewed Justin, right prior before the season, that was just such a great interview. Realistically, if anybody watched it, you could see what was brewing. And it's a lot of different things. It's Joey writing the article last year, right after the deadline, and, recapping what he had done since July. And it was, Justin coming on and being such a good, friend of the program. And you guys just had such a good rapport with him that didn't seem like an interview. You listen to these guys all over, and they're like, you can tell in their voice, they're like, God, man, like, I don't always want to just talk baseball. I'm a person too. And, you guys got a chance to talk to him about, his wife and Bo, and, what life was like other than baseball, and talking about, SEC football and all that stuff too. Like that was my favorite moment, because I got to sit on the sideline for that one and watch the guys that like kill it here be good at what they're good at. And like you guys asked some of the best questions that I thought, if anybody watched over the course of that interview, man, like you got a good preview of like what Justin was going to be like this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, incredibly well put. I echo everything you had to say. Joey, your favorite moment of the 2023 season?
You guys both cheated. You said the time we met Tyler, and then the cigars. And I feel like I want to put that up there too. And the Justin Steele interview was awesome. Those are all great, like, favorite memories. Like, I want to store all these moments and memories, and like, I'm never gonna forget any of this stuff. I'm trying to think, like, favorite moment. There's so many damn moments.
Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, I am. I am. I have Alzheimer's too, and I'm like almost 33. It's fucked up. God damn it. Skip me. Let me think about it.
All right, we'll come back to you, Joey. Nick, what was your favorite moment from this season?
Yeah, man. The mid-season show, specifically those mid-season grades from Tyler, those killed me. That was such a fun show. And those grades, yeah, that was by far my favorite. My second one was being explained the Bochi Bachi kind of thing on the second episode, and Joey being just as passionate in the first episode to defend that.
Scott says
it is
hashtag
Bocce,
bocce
though,
ball
right?
gate. Bocce ball?
See, Nick, no. Nick, no.
Bocce ball. Bocce ball gate is the best moment of Cubs on Tap Live, according to Scott from Iowa. Yeah, that was an electric moment. That clip, Joey, honestly, I think of any show you and I have done together, it's that one, the bocce ball clip, and it's the I'm sorry, Miss Wisdom clip. I think those two rank high up there.
And for real.
And that was this season. They were both this
Dude,
season. Like those were two really good clips from the year that just I think kind of again echoing what you guys said in the very opening, like the amount of comedy that comes from this show and like those we call them clippable moments, right? But like it's those little things that stand out that like that's the little like unique Cubs on Tap flavor that people get from listening to the show is like the silly shit like that. Or, you know, the juices, you know, food analogies. And it's the little uniqueness that creates Cubs on Tap to make it what it is. Yes, the juices. Everybody's got ism.
The Cubs season was like the graham crackers. When you pulled them apart, they crumbled.
There you go.
There you go.
Another poetic food analogy from Juice. All right, Joey, I know you've got one, man.
I thought about it long enough. It's really not even that funny though. But I feel like all right, favorite moments. I've got a few. When we were talking with Cole Wright sitting there, of course that was just awesome, man. Like he sat there for. Man, were we talking to him for like a half hour or something? Like it felt like a long time.
Yeah.
But like, you know, he's just standing there. We're just drinking. And he's talking about the carabiners with the hats and taking them out traveling with and just having real conversations, not even about baseball. You know what I mean? Like it's just talking back and yeah, getting to know you guys. Like I never would have thought in a million years that I would have found a podcast, you know, random group of guys that live kind of by me, but not quite by me. And you know, you're not even random at this point. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like a family. And like, there was somebody, I think we walked past like a couple people too, that we didn't quite know who it was. There was one person that walked in the elevator at CubsCon and we're like, me and Tyler were like, that looks like somebody. Yeah, that's somebody right there. I know it is. Who is that? Which relief pitcher was that? And then like come to find out later.
Wasn't it Carlos Marmol?
It was Carlos Marmol, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And we're like, yeah, no shit, that was him. So like, and we just both had to like start laughing, like, you fucking idiot. You've seen this dude on TV a million times. Like, how do you not know who that is? So
you two were like the odd couple that whole weekend.
But if for those that haven't watched it yet, especially if you're a newer viewer to Cubs on Tap this year and you're listening along with us, whether live or on recording, if you haven't already, go to the On Tap Sportsnet YouTube channel, hit like, subscribe, you know the drill. But find the Cubs on Tap CubsCon video recap from the weekend. Admittedly, a lot of the top stuff that we got back from CubsCon for the weekend was just Joey and Tyler just naively just walking around going, who can we give a Cubs on Tap t-shirt to? But like, it was awesome.
Pretty much.
Tyler, though,
like that's what it became. But it was fantastic because you guys got to talk to Cole Wright and, you know, you guys got to, you know, interview, you know, people that have now become friends of the program and like, you know, just get to meet all these different people. And again, I think that kind of went back, Joey, to like what I had said too for the season. That kind of ties back into, you know, kind of the season recap per se too. Is just like it was meeting everybody that made all that stuff fun. And certainly right up there. Quickly to the comments here. Hank says Justin seems like a good dude, easy to root for. Can't wait for him and Kate Horton to get here and learn from. Yeah, 100%. And we're gonna aim to have Justin back on in the off season. He's already pretty much said he would love to come back on. We just got to find a time. But Justin's the man. We certainly appreciate him. And yeah, we look forward to having that conversation with him after a year is now in arrears. Gentlemen, because we have to, we're going to open some wounds. Your least favorite moment of 2023. I don't know who I want to torture first. So I'll torture myself first, and then I'll torture Tyler and share his. My least favorite moment, and it's probably going to be a little different than what you guys have to say, but my least favorite moment was when the Cubs got swept in Arizona by the Diamondbacks. Because at that point, though, for me personally, the real concern started with the team, right? Like for what became the end of the season. Like that was kind of the beginning of the end is my way of putting it. Like they were coming off, riding high off of that Giants series, and then they split with the D-backs, and everybody's like, okay, the D-backs are good. They split, whatever, it's fine. But then they go to Colorado and lose 2 of 3, and everybody's like starting to kind of look around like, oh shit, they need a rebound and at least go 500 on the road, and they'll be good. They'll come back. It'll be great. No, because then they go and they get swept by the Diamondbacks. And I think it was at that moment that all of our panic buttons internally started like kind of flashing red and going, oh shit, are they like running out of steam now down the stretch? So I know there's probably later moments in the year for some of you guys. And certainly that's the case for Tyler that I'm going to share here. But for me, that was like the beginning of the end. And for that reason, I was just like, that was probably my least favorite time of the year. Because then it was that quick flip of like, oh shit. Because as long as it rides out and it just keeps happening, you're like, oh, all right, okay, all right, oh my goodness, okay, I got it. But that first one is always the one that gets you off guard. Tyler said it was the Braves series. He sums it up very quickly. He says that one was a big old kick in the dick. So, gentlemen, it's time to open it to you guys. Joey, do you want to go third out of us and share your least favorite moment?
Third or first?
Well, technically third because I shared mine and Tyler. So
Okay.
I ripped 2
Backing it
bands.
off, but like you can't say, all right, that's fine. I understand, man.
But yes, do
3
you
out of
want to be the
5.
first one? Do you want to be the first one that's not me?
No, I'll go. It's all right. So honestly, though, dude, like I think that it was all the ending. Like every single part of the end was the worst part. But I'll say, like, I think it was that Reds game for me. I can't remember which Reds game, but the extra inning or the game that they blew, one of those major games against the Reds, and I'm like, I think it was on a Saturday, and they looked like they could have really taken hold. Maybe it was a doubleheader day. Might have been the doubleheader.
It was
Yeah.
It was the second game of the doubleheader.
That one to me was like, are you fucking kidding me? Because you really had a shot to, I think it would have been, was it 1 game back at that point? And then you made yourself 3 games back. Something like, there was some dramatic swing. I can't remember exactly what the swing was, but there was a dramatic swing there from that series. So that Reds game to me was like, you've got to be shitting me. And yeah, I didn't think it would come crashing and crumbling the way it did, but it did. And we're here, out of the playoffs. But so are the Brewers, baby. Go fuck yourself. All right.
Well said. Well said. And in agreement. Nick, least favorite moment of 2023.
Yeah, I hate to pick this one because he really turned it around and everything. He had a really solid half. But that Seiya drop was heart-wrenching. I was standing there. I had a pizza in the oven. I had my oven gloves on, standing in front of the TV waiting because I'm like, this inning's over. I'm going to go get the pizza out. The ball hit the ground. I could not believe it. I was in shambles. I just stood there and I'm like, I gotta get the pizza out. I didn't even want to eat it. I was just like,
You gotta get the pizza out.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't even want to eat the damn thing. This sucks. I'm sick. So that was definitely my least favorite. I mean, second would be Trey Mancini's drop in London for sure. But that was too early to be painful. But yeah, that was sucky.
That's a Band-Aid I didn't expect to rip off tonight. Juice, least favorite moment of 23.
Any Tucker Barnhart at bat.
And he hit one home run.
Oh my goodness. Honestly, fair.
Honestly, fair. But no, I think my least favorite moment of the whole year was it's way even before, because it's that Houston series when they led like 2 back-to-back games, like 5-1 and 4-1, and they blew both. And that was the end of Keegan Thompson. And that was the moment where I kind of thought, like, man, this bullpen could definitely be pretty bad. And that was because there were no like defined roles outside of like Keegan being that 8th and 7th inning guy. And then they scraped around the barrel to find, guys to fit in the holes that, and they did a good job for a while of keeping it, super glued. But I mean, these bullpens these days got to be welded, man. And that was the moment where I was like, they could find a way to make their way back into it if they could hit their way. But I knew that was a low percentage, playoff berth if they had to do it that way. Because let's be honest, guys, like that team was not built to hit their way into a postseason. And they were a great offense this year. Don't get me wrong, but I kind of knew that they would have some problems when the league kind of caught up and they, constantly had to come back and, exploiting all that energy and stuff like that. So, yeah, that Houston series was kind of brutal. That was kind of one of those moments where it's like, yeah, you started playing good baseball after, but you really wished you had those games because, I mean, they were leading like 5-1 or 5-2 in the 9th in one of them, and they still lost that game in the 9th.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, well put, gentlemen. I think, again, to a point that we discussed throughout the year, and I'm sure we'll discuss in the offseason a bit, but really quick, that's something all of us, I think, at one point or another, and Juice, I know you were kind of the drum leader of that, was remember this loss at the end of the year, remember this loss. Like, there were a lot of those losses. It wasn't just all at the end. There was a lot of those losses where this team shot themselves in the foot. And at the end of the day, it really kind of made a cumulative least favorite moment of this team just missed the playoffs because they kept continually hurting themselves. Quickly to Scott here, because this was a great comment after Joey noted about the Brewers are done. Fuck them. He says Boog living his second best life, calling the game the Brewers being swept out of the playoffs. He was pretty excited on those home run calls.
And
So
Doug Glanville too.
Yeah. Pair of marquee greats on the microphone for that game. It was meant to be. It was meant to be for them to be on the mics when the Brewers were swept out of the playoffs. Gentlemen, our next point here is favorite player to watch, and I will go ahead and share Tyler's to get us started. He says Seiya Suzuki. He says when he was finally healthy and comfortable, he showed exactly the kind of presence he could be in the lineup. And there was a lot of upside going into 2024, as long as he can stay healthy and maybe even get a little stronger. So Tyler's favorite was Seiya Suzuki. Nick, we'll start with you on this one. Your favorite player to watch in 2023?
Bellinger. It was awesome. And it was definitely something that we didn't think we were going to get. It was kind of a prove it contract, and he hadn't shown that in a long time. So to unlock that was cool. It was very fun to watch all year.
I like it. Well said, buddy. Joey.
Not to take the same person, but yeah, Belly for me too. I mean, you just always thought, yeah, this guy's gonna hit a home run, or he's gonna, like, the 2-strike approach to me was the most fun. The at bats that he had, those at bats were super fun to watch, and the defense all around the diamond, center field, first base. I mean, he could have played left or right if you really needed him to. Like, the guy, just please bring him back. Yeah, Belly was the guy for me, for sure.
Very nice. Juice?
I'm going to go with Justin Steele. I thought Justin Steele starts were appointment television all year. Cy Young candidate, and I think he's only scratching the surface of what he could be.
I like it. Going to share one from the comments here. Scott from Iowa saying Assad was his favorite player to watch after meeting him after an Iowa Cubs game. Assad was fun to watch. You know, whether he was starting or coming out of the pen, he had a really, really strong season. In any other Juice, I think I'm going to have to echo you, but any other season for me as just a normal Cubs fan, like when I was younger and it was just watching, it wasn't being on here with you guys, and this whole like extra sense of watching games means more now than it ever did. I would have said Dansby Swanson because of the defense and the leadership, and like that was really fun to watch. Just that commanding presence that he was at Wrigley Field and how like such a good fit it feels like. But because of the personal connection to Cubs on Tap, because the Cubs found a homegrown ace for the first time since maybe Mark Pryor, it was really, really, really cool getting to watch Justin Steele this year. So Juice, I'll echo you there. So Joey, Nick, you guys both said Belly. Tyler said Seiya, and Juice and I say Justin Steele. Hopefully we'll have Joey back here in a few minutes as well. It looks like he's having a little bit of this time actual technical difficulty, not just silly, goofy stuff. It looked like something that might have happened with his internet, and he'll be back here in just a hot second. Gentlemen, we'll keep it moving. The next thing here we'll jump to is the most memorable win of the season for you, for this Cubs team. I am actually kind of excited to hear this because I feel like all of us are going to be probably all over the board with this one. This is just one of those, to me, that it's not going to be a guaranteed like consensus pick, which I think is super cool. I'm going to go ahead and share Tyler's. Again, we have them for sake of while you guys are thinking it through, I can see the wheels in Juice's head still turning. So most memorable win for Tyler this season was Morel's walk-off in the ninth against the Chicago White Sox. According to Tyler, he says, or Justin Steele's Cy Young like outing against the Brewers were his picks for most memorable win. Scott says easy Talkman's game-saving catch against the shitbag Cardinals. Gentlemen, favorite wins now that we have him back. I think he might be frozen, so we'll give him a minute. But Nick, we'll start with you again, buddy. Favorite win?
Yeah. For me, I'm with Tyler. It's Morel's home run, but definitely Scott. It is a toss up between the Talkman. It's like it could go either or, because both those moments were cool. But Morel, for me, that was an awesome moment. That was the most memorable win.
Heck yeah, Juice.
Yeah, the Talkman one is one that sticks out the most. I think that was just such a crazy ending to a game, right? Like you don't see it very often. I agree with Scott in that. I think Talkman's my favorite of the year. And then it's the Cardinals too. I mean, you gotta love every time you are breaking their hearts over there, and I think it just adds too with the Chip Carey, just crying into the mic over the course of the home run ball.
Absolutely. Joey, favorite win?
Drove up 65 through the shit. No, yeah. Fuck Chip Carey. Actually, that's why I was like asking before the show. I was like, is this going to be favorite moment or favorite win? Because the favorite moment was also my favorite win. And that is the one that Juice just said, the Mike Talkman catch. To end it, I was sitting there watching with my dad and his friend on his friend's couch, and we're just having pizza and wings, just wings and beer. But I don't know. It was just awesome, man. Like I jumped out of my chair and just started pumping my fist. I thought I was going to break my dad's friend's TV. So that against the Cardinals, like you said, that is the moment and win of the year to me from just Cubs team win perspective. Yeah, it was awesome.
I like it. Gentlemen, I actually think I'm going to piggyback Tyler for half of my answer here. Justin Steele's Cy Young win over the Brewers. That one, people said the Cubs didn't get playoff baseball this year. Yes, they did. That was a playoff game. That felt like a playoff game. That is the closest in terms of adrenaline I think I've had to watching a game that felt like a playoff game. Was that game against the Brewers. Just such a gutsy performance for 6 innings. And, even with an elevated pitch count, he sets a new career high. He gave the team everything he had that day to ensure they had an opportunity to beat the Brewers. Because at that time, after that series, they were only a game and a half back, I think, at that time of the Brewers for the division. Like it really, that was a moment where it felt like, holy shit, this Cubs team can catch and maybe even surpass these Brewers. And then obviously the season played out the way it did. But my other one, guys, and this one has to do with one that I was at because it was my favorite non-Cubs on Tap live game. And what I mean by that is opening days and closing weekends are always my favorite with you guys because you guys are there and a part of it. This was probably my favorite win. I went with friend of the program, Joe Sanders. You guys all know him. Or Nick, you maybe don't know him, but Joey Juice, you guys know him. Tyler knows him. He was with us closing weekend. He was with us opening weekend. He was there. And then ironically, he's one of my good buddies. He's a White Sox fan, but he loves Wrigley. He's the biggest kid in a candy store in Wrigley. He just loves everything about it. So he's always down to go to games. It was the Saturday coming out of the All-Star break against the Boston Red Sox. It's the only game they won in that series. But it was the day I lost my voice because of the belly bombs. And that game was just an absolute gong show of a day. We were I was eating a Subway breakfast sandwich at 9:30 in front of Wrigley Field, getting ready to go for the whole day. We did a lot of great content. And then we went to a buddy's birthday party after. It was the full bender of the greatest possible Cubs win. And it was kind of fun because in retrospect, that was one of the games when they kind of started to pick up and really get hot going into August. So that win is special. Plus it was a 10-run win, which I'll relate back to something a little later in the show when we get to some of the hot takes. But big win for the Cubbies. So that was mine. Personally, gentlemen, we'll keep this thing moving, and we're going to start to pivot just a smidge here because I want to revisit those predictions now before we do some of the off-season preview questions and takes, because there was two things I looked at. For those that might have remembered that show for the season preview, we had everybody give, stolen base leader, home run leader, all of that. We'll revisit those at some point, but we're going to stash those for a little later in the offseason. I looked at wins and I looked at hot takes, and I just wanted to see how close we were to any of them. And they're actually really interesting. And I'm going to read through them. And if you guys want to discuss any of these points or add something, if it's one of yours or something like that, please do. But I want to recap these really quick. The wins. For the wins, 3 of us were actually pretty close. 3 of us were within 4 games of their actual win total. 2 of us were not. Nick and I we'll take that blame. Nick chose 90 wins. I chose 89 wins. We were the furthest away. However, Juice chose 79 wins. And I highlighted with yours because even though you were the furthest of the 3 that I just noted, you said that they would be very average. And for some reason that stuck out to me because at times it because of where their record ended up, it would look like, right, just looking at the box score, that they were very average. But it was a lot of up and down. Joey, you were just a hair under. So if we played Price is Right rules, you would win. Or pardon me, if we played Price is Right rules, you would be the first one out. You had 84, so you were one over, pardon me. And then Tyler chose 82. So technically, if we played Price is Right rules, Tyler would have been the closest. But again, I think impressive work from you 3 for sure. Nick and I we're the optimistic crew. You guys are the little more realistic crew of this show. But pretty well done, really, overall.
I wanted you to be right, though.
Oh, sure. I think we all did, right? But again, though, I think just shows that, again, why people enjoy listening to Cubs on Tap. We've got that positive, we want the best because we're fans vibe, but we're also educated baseball fans, and we can give a good, honest opinion on what we think the team is going to do. Gentlemen, now for the hot takes. This one's fun, and I'm open to discussing these a little bit with some banter for each of them. We'll start with Tyler. Tyler's, we don't know yet if it's come to fruition because it hasn't happened yet. But his was Cody Bellinger, NL Comeback Player of the Year. There's a
That's a
real
really
good
good bet.
chance that happens. So Tyler might be 2 for 2 on his win and hot takes, which is a damn
Dang.
shame he couldn't join us tonight, because I would love to see his excitement knowing that he might be really spot on. But I mean, shit,
Nose
guys,
to Tyler over there, man.
Nose to
Yeah,
Tyler.
right.
Crazy.
What kind of shit is
crazy.
he doing? Is he like touching a crystal ball at night before he goes to bed, or
He has a crystal ball.
kind of witchcraft?
He's got his crystal ball, Joey.
It's just his head.
Was that supposed to be funny, Joey?
It was supposed to be, but like I don't know. I'm sorry.
I feel bad. We're making fun of Tyler, and he's not even here to defend himself.
No, we're just making fun of me. What do you mean?
No, I was.
Yeah,
I was-
just Joey.
I said Tyler because he has a bald head. That's his crystal ball.
Oh,
Joey understood that.
Yeah.
I realized you didn't understand that, Joey. I'm sorry.
no, I got it. It's just I don't know. Just
Joey's tired. It's
Go
been
ahead,
a
keep
long
going.
day for all of us.
Okay,
But again,
roll. And I don't know what these even are, but they're like from 1615. So continue, Ron.
What is he talking about?
I think it's
It's this old like beer with the slide pops. It's got the
Did Columbus bring that over on the Mayflower, or what's going on?
yeah. He just floated over. It took him a couple of years, but
You don't say.
took him a few many years.
Little do you know, Joey learned that last week after, and then he had arts and crafts time after.
Well, you're not allowed to say Columbus Day anymore. That's all I know.
Jesus.
Not what you're supposed to say.
Joey, I hate to pick on you further, but we have to get to your hot take. Yours was very hot, perhaps the most spicy. Still hot, but I actually put in parentheses LOL after.
Well,
it.
no, it was bad. I know what it is. All right, let's hear
Trey
it.
Mancini to hit 25 or more home runs was your bet. And I will take half blame because he is brought up in my hot take too, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But 25 homers out of Mr. Mancini, sir. I can't even fault you, Joey, because I think we all were at one point very hopeful for Trey Mancini that he would make an impact on this team. And he was just one of the examples, Juice, kind of going back to what you and I discussed on last night's show, for those that haven't watched or listened yet for the Jed Presser show. But Jed hit on 3 of 6 like major acquisitions, quote unquote, last season, right? Belly,
Dansby.
to an extent, Tyone, and Dansby. Whereas on the flip side, Hosmer, Barnhart, Mancini just didn't work out. And I think that Mancini was the one that the people had the most hope for. Because you guys remember that excitement at CubsCon when people figured out that he was signed and we were telling people, everybody was like high-fiving and celebrating. There was like a mini like celebration. Like they added another, like a guy that could actually help us. We were all very high on it at that moment. And it just didn't work out, man. And it's a real bummer because I think all of us very much like Trey Mancini as the player, as the person for sure. But I mean, guys, 79 games, ultimately just 4 homers and a 234, 299, 336 slash line was Trey Mancini's season. So a tough one, but again, just going to show like right from start to end, very differing opinions, I think, of this Cubs team and guys slotting in different roles. And it's been very consistent with our themes that we started at the beginning of the show. Another one here really quick from you guys. We'll go over to Juice. Juice, yours was a criteria. If the Cubs were below a 3.8 ERA as a team, they would be in the playoffs. They were a 4.08 ERA as a team. And you said, they need to jump 10 spots. They were 20th last season in team ERA. If they're going to make the playoffs, they only jumped 6 this year. They finished 14th with a 4.08. The teams in front of them in reverse order, going to the top, the Dodgers at 13, Phillies, Giants, Guardians, Yankees, Astros, Orioles, Twins, Rays, Blue Jays. You hear a lot of playoff teams in there. Mariners, Padres, Brewers. So a very interesting list. Brewers were the best with a 3.71 team ERA for those that are curious. So Juice, I mean, I think you were onto something, but you brought up a good point. I do want you to share this again. This is a little bit of the banter that I think fits here well. You said something interesting before we jumped on the show because we were just talking about that a little bit. I would love you to share it with everybody about your thoughts now going forward, guessing this number for baseball.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some digging on, and I'm gonna try to find. I have an inkling that defensive runs saved may turn into that new ERA list. That if you're able to save runs in the time of stolen bases and no shift, that may turn into the new ERA list because there's just so much movement now and so much more athletic play that ERA and long ball alone can get you there. So as baseball changes, I got to find a way to edit that prediction. I still think that like ERA overall, like if you're below 3.80, and if you look at that list, like for the most part, those were playoff teams. But I think that it needs to be some type of combination stat now too, because like if you look at what happened in San Diego, I'd love to see where their defensive run saves were at and where, you know, their mess kind of went off the rail, and just identify, you know, the forensic report on why they didn't. Because I think that now that baseball's moved in a different direction, there's just more, you know, ingredients in the pie that, you know, you need to have to make a playoff.
And let me support your theory here with some numbers really quick, Juice. So for those that are curious, only 4 of those teams I listed that were higher than the Cubs actually were less than a 3.8, like Juice had noted. Just 4. The Brewers, Padres, Mariners, and Blue Jays. Blue Jays were a 3.78 for reference. So it's hard in today's new look baseball to pitch below a 3.8. So how does that shift? And Juice, the teams that I noted were top in ERA. Here's your top defensive runs saved. This is your top 10 from best to 10th. Defensive runs saved as a team. Blue Jays were number 1, 83, overwhelming the best team. Milwaukee Brewers were number 2 at 69. Dodgers had 60. Diamondbacks 46. Padres 41. Cubs 38. Texas Rangers 37. Twins 35. Orioles 35. Tampa Bay Rays 30. A lot of playoff teams in there, but a lot of teams that also had lowest ERA and somehow missed the playoffs too, which is interesting. So,
what were the Cubs? 7th,
6th.
There's another rabbit hole I want to go down there into and look at left-handed power, because I have an inkling too that teams that have left-handed power make playoffs more often than teams that don't.
I'm excited to learn what you learn from your digging, Juice. So again, guys, I think even though they were hot takes and some were further than others, like at the end of the day, I think they're all proving very interesting tidbits of what happened over the course of the season. Nick, yours was them winning 90 games, but also winning the division, which at one point in time,
they were so close.
They were close.
They were so close. The bottom just fell out.
Yeah. So again, I mean, yeah, they didn't get to 90. They were, 6 games short on that front. But the winning division, at one point, they were 1.5 games away from a division lead. So, interesting things to keep in mind there moving forward. And again, Brewers just got swept out. They might lose Craig Counsell to a better team with more resources, because he is so just appreciated, I think, as a manager around baseball. What does that do to the Brewers? Are they able to maintain and still be as good? Are they like the Rays now, where the next guy up can make it work and they can still, keep it going, even with losing somebody of that caliber at the helm? Finally, now getting to mine, and mine's a little complex to kind of set up here, but I said my spicy take was 4 players on this Cubs team were going to have 25 or more home runs. I wasn't that far off from it, because no, only 2 had 25 or more, but 6 had 20 or more.
Oh, that's what it was.
So
Sorry.
we were close. So I originally said my 4 players to be more than 25 homers were Dansby, which he fell short. I said Mancini. That's why I said I joke. I said yikes next to that one. Belly, who did hit over 25. He had 26 that was tied for the team best. And Seiya, who fell short and obviously wasn't himself and was hurt, he still had 20. So that list doesn't look too terrible because the actual numbers, for those that need a refresher, Belly was tied for the team lead in home runs with 26. Morel also had 26. So Morel and Belly are probably both over 30 if Morel's up the whole season and Belly doesn't get hurt. Wisdom had 23. Swanson had 22, 3 off for me with there. Hap had 21. Say I had 20. And guys, why I said that was because we talked a lot on the preview episode that this Cubs team was probably going to need to pitch their way to the playoffs more so than hit their way. And Juice, your hot take kind of protruded from that conversation we had, I think, and your stance on what you felt the team was. Mine was, you know what? If they can find and run into this amount of home runs, maybe they can be a top scoring team in the majors with their, slap the ball around the yard mentality too that they've started to show and running a little more and things like that. Well, they had 6 guys give you over 20. Oh, and also in all of baseball, the Cubs were the 6th highest run scoring team in the league. So the offense was good. It was inconsistent at times, but it was good. It had firepower. And I think it's, as we move into the offseason, and I'm trying to set up now where we go here with the offseason talk. As we go into the offseason, just another one of these points to consider that I think we've all kind of formulated throughout this conversation, saying, hey, you get a little more consistent, you add a bat here or there that can help more with that consistency. And all of a sudden, maybe this Cubs team is pitching their way into Juice's hot takes and hitting their way into mine. And all of a sudden now we're talking about a 90-win ball club, and players that we actually expect to do something, Joey, to support why you went where you went. We expected Mancini to be a major contributor. Guys that they're bringing in now hopefully actually fulfill that role and make Joey's prediction look better than the one that happened, because that was just the player didn't work out. And that was an unfortunate scenario. So guys, with the offseason coming up in mind, one of the questions that I posed to the group was players you want the Cubs to bring in most. And this is where you can get a little creative, because it could be via trade, it can be via free agency. But the player that you want the Cubs to bring in most, or players, if you've got 2 that you have off the top of your head. Tyler had this to say, for those that are curious. He says, Pete Alonso would be nice. Obviously, the rumors have been circulating. We'll acknowledge that now. He says, if he's paired with a return of Bellinger coming back, he says, I know Juice has already said it, Sonny Gray would be sick. But this is his real thought. Here's a thought, though. What if we made a trade with another Central team? Am I doing good at the Tyler mannerisms, or is it shaky?
I like it.
Another Central team, the AL Central. I'm talking a trade with the Cleveland Guardians for Shane Bieber, former Cy Young, and that's right, that's not all, but also Jose Ramirez. Huh? Who says no? That's Tyler's answer of players he would like to see them add. Jose Ramirez and Bieber. The Guardians, a low market team. Carter has the familiarity there. I'm sure that's what's driving some of Tyler's thought there, and saying he would like to see them get a third baseman like Ramirez and get another pitcher like Bieber via trade. Nick, let's start with you. Who's a player or 2-3 players that you would really love to see them bring in?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Polar Bear. I'd love to see him at Wrigley. But that does go with getting Bellinger back, because I don't want to see you lose Bellinger because of that. But for starting pitching, Bieber is definitely one, but Blake Snell could be another one that you could look at doing. But you need power for sure, and Pete Alonso gives you that.
100%. Joey.
Well, we were talking about this last offseason, actually, or like going into the year about who was going to be available this offseason. Just briefly, we talked about it, but it's something we had talked about. And we thought, well, there are some pitchers out there on the market. Obviously, Pete Alonso would be awesome. That's number one priority, in my opinion, is Cody Bellinger. But all the things that we just talked about, right? Sixth best offense, runs scored. You had an above-average offense for WRC plus metrics, which wonky at times, but for a team, you can look at that as a pretty good metric, especially over the long course of a season. Not to belabor the point, but Aaron Nola, I absolutely want Aaron Nola. Like, I need that ace, that solidified ace, or in a guy, in my opinion, who he's had kind of a shitty year, and he's had some seasons where the ERA spikes, but he's just so damn durable. Like, I love Sonny Gray too. I think that would be a great addition as well. The one thing with the difference, I guess, for me with Nola and Sonny Gray is I know Nola is going to give me those 32 starts every season, where I've seen with Sonny Gray, once in a while he can have some injuries. Both are super talented, but I feel like you get that one more ace either way. But Nola would be the guy, I think, for me that I want this team to go after this offseason.
Juice?
Yeah, I think we kind of post-showed a little yesterday and talked about our opinions on this upcoming free agent class. Yeah, I want Sonny Gray. I think he fits just so well with what the Cubs want to do here, and that's pitching to contact. I mean, he's at upwards to close to 50% ground ball rate, and he keeps the ball on the ground. And on this defense, with these guys behind him like Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner, it would be a great place for him to play. I do think too, because of those reasons that Joey brought up, it's not going to break the bank on Sonny Gray, opposed to where I feel like a Nola probably goes back to Philly. I think they're in the middle of a contention. I don't think they want him to walk out the door. I don't know their cap situation, so they may not, be able to do that. But it's homegrown pitching, and very often that homegrown pitching doesn't leave there either. So I too, like we were talking about, do you want them to trade for Pete Alonso? I'm like, yeah, I do. But I think that there's a bounce back candidate like a Cody Bellinger waiting in the grass and Rhys Hoskins that I think is going to hit free agency and at Wrigley Field would be a great, first baseman there, a guy who you could see hit 40 home runs. And he plays a pretty good first. I think that may be the value play. And I'm going to say something pretty controversial here. It's something that I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me with. But I have a real hard cutoff on a number for Cody Bellinger. And the reason for that is that if you go through Spotrac and look at his fastball, his hitting against fastballs, it was not great this year. And he really didn't hit the ball that hard. And I know he reinvented himself, and I know that, there's some truth to changing your game and getting on base and, poking the ball through. But I'm not paying upwards of $200 million for a guy who's poking the ball through the infield. You got to hit home runs as a left-handed power bat. And I hope that he can. And I know that he got hurt last year. And I know that, he hit, what did you say earlier, Ron? 24 home runs? Probably hits 30. But, yeah, it's one of those things that, like, I'm really concerned if you look deeper into what his season really was, and can he replicate that again?
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what your cutoff number is, Juice.
It's around 160, 165.
How many years?
Well, how many years? I guess that's
and that's the thing. Like, I don't go. He's 28. I don't go more than 4 or 5 years with that number.
Okay.
All right. So you're just really saying not long term, basically, is what you're like no 7, 8, 9, big dance beat.
Well, and the flip on that too, Joey, is like, yeah, he deserves a raise, but I really much worry about the whole fastball stats on Spotrac really worry me. He hit like 330. He slugged like almost 40 to 50. No, it was almost 200 points better against breaking balls than he did against fastballs. Like that's a significant move.
He's kind of like even the years that he had struggled though, like if you look at the last 2-3 years where he really struggled, he struggled against fastballs too, I believe. Like that was kind of his bugaboo. So I could be wrong on that, but I feel like looking into him before coming into this season, he had struggled with those fastballs. So if there's a way we can have success without completely dominating those fastballs, like we were talking about earlier, I really like the 2-strike approach, but I do understand your point of like you want a guy that's going to hit home runs. So if you can guarantee me that he's hit 30 plus home runs with an elite on base and close to 300 average, I'm willing to give him a longer term deal because of the flexibility that he provides you with center field and first. And but I do understand like the point of like you want somebody who's going to club. Like I get that too. I totally get that.
Like it's not anything that I'm not saying that like I just think the Cubs need to tread very lightly here because there's an opportunity for them to overpay here because he is going to be the best hitter minus Shohei Ohtani in this free agent. And that's a problem. Like I think the Cubs need to be really disciplined with this too. Like and this is how I foresee the offseason playing out. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to wait, and that means Belly's got to wait to get to his number because he's going to base a little bit of what Shohei gets off of what he gets, and he's not going to be the first one in the pool. I'll tell you that. Because why would you? Because the teams that miss out on Shohei may pivot to Belly.
Do you think? I don't know, like long term, how long Shohei's out pitching wise. Do you think he's going to wait as long as he can feel like how his rehab coming along, like just in his own progression of like as far as pitching goes, because then the longer he can hold out, the more like positive news can come out as far as for other teams go. They're trying to sign him of how his arm looks too, because I know that's going to weigh a big factor too. So if he is waiting, and Belly's waiting, like think about it like this too. Like as we're having this conversation, what does Jed Hoyer always do? He always takes the smart approach, whether it be these contracts. He's very disciplined in that. Like if he were to go crazy this time around, like for Cody Bellinger, not to say that he won't do it, but I kind of agree with your point on that, where I don't see him going over the top to a number that he's comfortable with, what they view him as. So that's one thing I've learned, like over the last, however many years that Jed's been running things, and even Theo, back to Theo's days, they're pretty disciplined as far as like what their number is and what they're willing to give guys. So I would trust them. Like in this situation, like, all right, what is your number? I'm curious to know that though. Like I wish I just was a fly on the wall to know what Jed and what the scout team is willing to give Cody.
And you so badly have to be weary of a player in his contract year. Always. Like, because there is always added motivation to play your best baseball that year. And you wonder, you get paid, and I'm not saying that he's this, but there's been scenarios where guys get paid, and that whole new approach goes out the window. Because there's comfort after that.
So you don't think too, like there's not that there's not gonna be like that hometown discount, not hometown discount, but like this is a team that helped me figure this out. Because I didn't think so either, especially like
this may be
like the was,
especially if he's looking for like 6 years, because this may be his last chance to get that huge contract. because he's 28.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Juice. I think your number, the 165, if they could get him at 5 years at 165, even 165 at 4, which is crazy. So let's say maybe that's 150 at 4, but you have that higher AAV over 30, but that shorter window where you're getting him through his prime. It'd be interesting to see if he ends up taking that. Guys, I want to keep the conversation moving. Incredible debate. I can't wait to hear you guys debate it further as well, I think, as the off season moves along. But just quickly do a couple of the comments, and then I'll go ahead and I'll share mine. Scott says he blames Trey Mancini for his hot take of Wesneski starting the first playoff game. That was a good one. Scott, I got a couple of you as well. He said Ross Manager of the Year, which I don't think is an awful hot take because he's, I think, at least going to be a finalist. I don't think he wins it, but he had Mervis in the running for Rookie of the Year, but he did say Mervis would be up early, which was true. So double-edged sword, and then Wesneski, and then Jeremiah had a hot take as well that I remember noting that they would make it to the NLDS, so winning that first wild card series in the playoffs. But actual players to add, Scott says Jack Flaherty, Joey Gallo, and Yamamoto as free agency ads. He would like to see Hank agreeing with Yamamoto, and he says or trade for Bieber, so in the same realm as friend Tyler. Guys, I think for mine, going back to what Juice said, Pete Alonso, sure, I think we'd all like that. Juice and I did a little after show discussion, and we started talking about what Pete Alonso hitting to that left center at Wrigley during the summer would be like, and how many bulbs on the scoreboard he breaks, which got me a little more excited for it, I think, than I initially was. But a guy that I have a fantasy one that I just want to share really quick, just to tease you guys. And then, in my opinion, a more realistic one. A teaser one, Juice and I were talking about how desperate do you think the White Sox could get where Cubs come with a good enough package? Would they give up Luis Robert and potentially Dylan Cease? Just think about how good that would look. But just think about how great that would look. Even with Robert, I mean, it probably means PCA is going to the south side, but like, how desperate are they, right? Or are they really trying to keep at least Robert in the fold and build around him? Again, a very fantasy one. I just thought it was interesting. A guy that I don't think is so fantasy, though, gentlemen, he's a pitcher. And I was so desperately trying to think of bats because I think I have a hot take, which is our next topic here that I'll reserve my thought for. But I think the Cubs need to get an impact pitcher. And there's going to be guys that they like in this free agency market this year that end up costing a lot of money that they don't feel comfortable hitting maybe on certain guys, right? It's a good class. You mentioned Aaron Nola, Joey, as a guy you would like to see in-house. Blake Snell, not a guy I think the Cubs target, but he's out on the market. There's a lot of names that are going to get paid. Yamamoto is going to be a bidding war. He's only 25 for sure. There's a lot of the top free agent arms, even a guy like Sonny Gray, Juice, to your point, that are going to cost teams money. And maybe the Cubs get one guy who's lower in that pack, but I think there's a world where they would like to maybe even add 2 starting pitchers and get even deeper at the top. And with that in mind, I had to do some real thinking and had to formulate thoughts and look at different teams. And I got to a guy that I've brought up times before that I am such a fan of. And I think he makes sense for the Cubs because it's a team that would love to shed salary. And he's the type of guy that, like, short-term flexibility the Cubs love with the possibility of extension. I think the Cubs need to call the team that won 99 games that just got swept out of the playoffs by the Texas Rangers and get Tyler Glasnow. I would love to see Tyler Glasnow. He has 1 year at $25 million starting next season. Mind you, the Rays gave him that contract for that 25 for the 1 year extension because he was only making 5.3 this year, which still makes him the 4th highest paid player on their team. But it's nuts. But to me, that's the perfect move because he is getting a little bit older. He's not old, but he's 29. So the Rays start moving on from starters at about that age 30, 31 era. I think the Cubs could get him for 1 year. say, hey, we know you've been hurt. They'll apply the pitch lab to him of hopefully being able to keep him a stronger pitcher and healthier for longer. And maybe they give him a 2, 3, 4 year extension, because pitchers can throw late into their career now and still make decent money. That's just the way pitching is. If you're a reliable starter, you can pitch well into your late 30s and at least make decent money. Why not go after this guy? You have him for sure for $25 million for 1 year, which should drive down the price to trade for him. And then if you like him, you keep him. And if it doesn't work, or it goes atrociously and you can let him walk, if you don't think he's going to re-sign, but maybe you make a baseball trade next year, maybe he's the piece that goes the other way just to help offset dollars. You could do a lot with it. But I think Tyler Glasnow would look really good in Chicago in the rotation, and he's a guy I'd love to see them target and bring in potentially this off season. Dudes, we got one more question before we get out of here. This is a bender of a 90-minute show. We appreciate everybody that's stuck around and listened for a majority of this live. When this comes out in podcast form, it will come out in 2 parts, so that way people get to listen to them equally and in shorter stints. And it's just more content for you to go back and listen to on podcast form. Last one here, boys, a bold off-season predictions. I'm going to go ahead and always start with Tyler's again, just to give you a gist of what's out there from our Cubs on Tap co-host. He said, I don't know the guy, but based off what Jed Hoyer said on his presser, he thinks the Cubs make a big splash on somebody. Not just a piece here or there, but he thinks they make a groundbreaking, game-changing splash for the guy that gets them over the hump. And with that being said, he doesn't think they bring back Cody Bellinger. He says he would love to see him back, but he thinks he takes a fat contract somewhere else, and they see a downgrade from 2023 to 2024. I think maybe more so at the position of with Belly than as a team is what he's saying as his obviously bold prediction. But he's saying that center field position might take a step back for a year to then take a step forward without Belly in the fold. So interesting. He thinks they make a big splash, but don't bring back Belly. Juice, I'll start with you. It's been a while since we've started with you on these questions. Bold offseason prediction from you.
I think they make 2 huge trades, one of which at the beginning of the baseball winter meetings, and probably one of them exiting the baseball winter meetings. I just think that if they're going to improve this year for the most part, outside of the starting pitching market, they're going to have to do it via the trade. Or hope for a bounce back candidate, because like we said, it's going to be really difficult to bring back a guy like Cody, who is going to get some huge offers, I think, out there. But no, I think that realistically going into next year, you got the guy at the helm to do it. And the Cubs have a good amount of prospect capital that they can trade from depth, just like they did at the deadline. It's kind of how we talked about, Ron, that you can trade from, the 7 to 8 good shortstops that they have within their system, and it doesn't hurt you as much as if you trade, a big outfield bat or an arm.
Yeah, well put. I like it a lot. Nick, what is your bold offseason prediction?
My bold offseason prediction is we're going to get a big splash, a big name, because I think that this season has shown free agents this is a destination that you want to come with development and the pitching lab and things like that. It gives, those free agents more of motivation to be a Cub. Yeah, more incentive. Thank you. To be a Cub. So I think we're going to see a big name and one that's like not so much a prove it contract, but has been proven to have success and talent because we're so much closer than we were at this time last year.
I like it. Well said. Joey.
I really hope we're not setting ourselves up for disappointment off season. I remember sitting on the show last year at the end of the season. It was just starting off season, whatever, and I was saying something similar, like we're gonna make one big trade, and they never really made that trade, and then they did make some really good moves though, and I think that's going to happen. I guess my bold prediction will be I mean, it's easy to say like they will just make a big move that we want them to. Of course, that's the optimist too, and I think they're a smart enough organization where they know they have to make some huge move, right, or a big enough move that makes a difference with this team. But I'm gonna say my bold prediction is they land. No, I'm not gonna say Aaron Nola. I was gonna do it. That's not gonna be my bold prediction. I'm gonna say they are gonna land one of those big starters though, just starting pitcher market. That'll be not sure it's bold or not, but I think that's what they're gonna do. And honestly, like I wouldn't be surprised if PCA just because he struggled down the. I want to just touch on that point real fast. Just because he struggled down the stretch this last year, don't be surprised if he takes over that center field role, start the season next year. You know, he might not be ready. He wasn't ready for the stretch run. Okay, he wasn't ready for playoff caliber baseball. That's totally different than being ready for this level of play. He had a lot to learn too. And he's going to take that in the offseason. He's going to work his ass off. Don't think that there's anybody that's not more motivated than he is after his cluster performance going into the offseason. And we know this kid's super talented. So I'm still really high on him. And if he's your opening day center field starter, not saying he will be, I don't think you can certainly just pencil him in there. But he's definitely going to be competing for that spot in center field. There's much worse things than one of the top prospects in baseball starting for your team in center field. So, I feel good about where this team's headed, man. I don't know, bold prediction, top starter. I hope they get.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good names out there, and like you said, if PCA does take that leap, you can still have production from the center field position and go buy elsewhere where you need the help. Scott with a very interesting one here in the comments says Cubs have a top 4 salary next year. That's very bold, and that would probably take like landing Shohei Ohtani type thing in order to get into that bold prediction territory. But I think is interesting. Juice, mine is actually a little similar to yours, which I don't know if we talked about this in our post game just chat yesterday. I don't think we did, which makes this even more interesting that we're on the same page here. But my bold prediction for the offseason, the Cubs make more impact moves via trade than free agency. So it's kind of along the lines of yours, Juice, because I think they still signed somebody significant. And in free agency, that very well could be a Rhys Hoskins if they don't go get Pete Alonso. Like it could be something of that nature or a Sonny Gray in the rotation. Like they make maybe one of those kind of moves, a guy that's still like a top 10 to 15 free agent or top, 5 to 15 free agent. Maybe not one of the top, but somebody good. But I think from an impact perspective, I think they make 2 very impactful trades, whether that is just addressing position of need or maybe, really getting a game-changing type player to add to either this lineup or this, rotation or maybe even this bullpen. Maybe they had a couple of notable bullpen arms as well via trade. Scott says Nolan Arenado via trade. I don't know if that one's going to happen, but crazy shit happens, and that's what makes baseball. Gentlemen.
Hey, they like our sloppy seconds, so, I mean.
So you're saying we might take some of theirs? Is that what I'm gathering?
I'm just saying it's a better sloppy second.
Yeah, that's fair. Nonetheless, guys.
Awesome.
Lots of good banter tonight. 2023 season is in arrears. Playoff series are already coming to an end here in game 2. The D-backs took care of business against the Brewers. The Rangers took care of business against the Rays. Even the Phillies took care of business against the Marlins. That's going to be a hell of an NL East series between the Braves and Phillies in this NLDS coming up. We'll be back with you guys. When exactly? We don't know just yet, but we will probably be back sooner than you potentially anticipate. We might have little MLB postseason check-ins. If any Cubs news obviously pops up, it's another incentive for us to join each other back on the mic. And maybe it's just an excuse to get on and chit-chat baseball and then do some CubsCon planning afterwards. Who knows? We'll figure all of it when it's done. And, gentlemen, we have all of the NLDS matchups set. So just as a reminder to everybody, it's Braves, Phillies, and it's Dodgers Diamondbacks. So NL West and NL East matchups in the NLDS. That should be pretty good. And obviously the AL is still sorting itself out as well. Guys,
Go
this was a
Brian.
blast. Yeah, go. Yeah, the fever. The
They
Diamondbacks
fucked
took care
our
of
team
business.
over, so we got to root for his team now. They took care of us. I want to say we got swept twice by the World Series, eventual World Series champion. We got swept twice by
6 of
Didn't we?
7, right? We lost 6 of 7. I think it was.
I think it was-
All right, whatever. It felt like 2 sweeps.
It did feel like 2 sweeps. I
It's
agree
terrible.
with Joey. It was awful.
It was rough. So go D-backs, but we'll see what happens. Again, we'll check back here throughout the offseason. One quick comment here. Hank says that he'd love a top 4 payroll, but they haven't been top 10 since 2020. He would love to see it, though. So could be something interesting to keep an eye on. Gentlemen, before we get out of here, want to quickly remind everybody Cubs on Tap, as always, one of 2 official Cubs podcasts here at the On Tap Sports Network. Be sure to check out our friends over at Dingers at Dinger Cubs. They run every Monday night. Be sure to follow all of us as well and the show at Cubbies on Tap. Loose on Tap, Juice on Tap, Nick _ on Tap, Joey Knows Nothing, Teddy Freddy 270. You know the drill. Follow the whole gang and show some love. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. Hawks was live tonight. Bulls were live yesterday. Bears was live yesterday. The fall sports are really starting to pick up, and you'll hear some of our voices over on all the other fall sports and right here on Cubs on Tap all off season. You know the drill. Shed your shitbag Sox friends to our kind of cool Sox friends over at Sox on Tap, and they can be friends. They do a good job covering the boys at 35th and Shields. Gentlemen, a pleasure being on the microphone with you guys to recap the season. I will see you guys inevitably soon. We'll all see each other inevitably sooner than later here as Cubs on Tap starts to boot up for the offseason. Gentlemen, what do you say? We get out of here the only way we know how at Cubs on Tap?
Fuck the Cardinals.
Drove up 65.
Fuck the Brewers.
I got one from Tyler here for you. A big Mile Kentucky home. Fuck the Cardinals to you Saint losers. And as everybody else says, fuck the Brewers, and let's go Cubbies.